4BC Weekend Mornings with Chris Adams.
24 to 11, Shane Bowering from Red Tape Busters in the studio. Hello, mate.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
You're looking well.
Tar, so are you?
As always.
And modest, as always. I love it. Now, we've got some great successes this week for listeners. We'll talk about those a little bit later. By the way, 13 13 32 is our number if you would like to have Shane help you with something that may be a problem that you're having trouble with the red tape or getting through the bureaucracy. It's his specialty. We're talking a fair bit over the last couple of weeks about the old bloke's house at Lutwich, where he had a 6-storey block of units built that close to his house.
24 centimetres away.
Couldn't get even in to clean the windows.
They couldn't do anything.
Bizarre. I saw another one during the week, people at Highgate Hill protesting about, again, a building taking out a whole bunch of views, but they admitted, you don't own the view.
Yes.
But these people were going to be left looking at a blank brick wall.
I think from memory, that development is looking at maybe going to 18 metres, exactly. and that's in conflict with the town plan as it stands now and as what's required. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
What I found I wanted to know more about, having heard the story of Lutwich and having read that this week, is just exactly where else in town these things are likely to happen. And to give us a hand with that, Aaron Sweet is the Director of Consult Planning, and he joins us this morning. G'day, Aaron.
Good morning, gents. How are we?
Yeah, well.
G'day, Aaron.
Under the town plan, where are the likely places that these sorts of things are going to happen?
Well, Chris, there is some very high-level policy which Brisbane City Council started working on back in 2006 through a city shape document, which was a very high-level policy.
Yep.
Essentially, we have on a very high level some major urban growth corridors which generally follow the lines of Lutwich Road, Gympie Road, Ipswich Road, and Old Cleveland Road.
Okay.
And essentially, that is where the policy here and now. As you'd appreciate, City Plan 2000 is a very old document.
Yeah.
The new city plan is on its way, so we will see emerging a lot more of that city shape planning in the draft 2014 plan when it is implemented. So generally, around major transport nodes, major regional shopping centres, a lot of infill development. It's not limited just to those inner city suburbs like Lutwich and Highgate Hill.
Yep.
You are seeing major nodes developing around Upper Mount Gravatt, Carindale, Chermside and the like. So it is quite widespread. Unfortunately, council have a very big challenge with our growing economy to try and accommodate as much infill development as we can without pressure to move outwards.
So that infill development, what form is that going to take? Is it going to be limited to high-rise?
Look, there is a varied approach that council are looking at. Certainly along the major transport corridors, we'll take Old Cleveland Road as an example, following the Eastern Busway. There certainly is an intent there in those areas that are well located near those busway stations and major shopping nodes to go high-rise. Mm-hmm. The intent there is really to try and consolidate development and give most people good access to those services and get as many people within walking distance of those facilities. It is a challenge. It's a case of trying to strike the appropriate balance. So,
Aaron, in relation to that, just not high-rise, but is council looking at things like enhancing the ability of people to put granny flats in the backyard and to whether that's for family or just to increase the numbers of people on a property?
There is. And look, housing affordability is very on topic, as we all appreciate.
Yeah.
Certainly cost of living is on a massive upward pressure. So, look, certainly in the last couple of years, our colleagues in Western Australia, through some state government planning work, they have started allowing actual legitimate renting out of granny flats to help the affordability issue. They've got a massive housing crisis in WA and metropolitan Perth at the moment. Certainly our state member for housing is looking at alternatives, and he's certainly been made aware of what his colleagues in the West are doing.
So that's a state government thing, is it, Aaron?
Look, in WA, the approach has come down from the top level from the state, which has effectively forced council's hands, which can be seen as a good thing. There is a lot of opposition from a lot of councils in relation to allowing people to legitimately rent out granny flats
Doesn't it make sense? It makes sense to me, though.
In so many
It
ways.
makes sense to me. As long as you're not, conflicting with the neighbours and, you're building a granny flat, 20 centimetres away from the neighbouring, the boundary line, it makes sense to me that we should be allowing those sorts of things to happen so that we can increase the numbers of people in suburbia
doing it at Ipswich.
legitimately. Yeah, absolutely.
And saying that you make a very good point. There is a lot of this happening now, and it has been happening for decades throughout the nation. It's just a case that it's not legitimate.
Yeah.
So it's not causing an amenity issue. It is fulfilling a legitimate need.
Yes, exactly
and
right.
supplementing household incomes. So, look, there are some things moving. Queensland's moving towards standardised planning schemes, as we've had in Victoria for about 2 decades. There is a land use definition in there, a new one called rooming accommodation. It is starting to allow these sort of hybrid-type living arrangements alike. It's still yet to be seen.
What was that called again?
There's a new definition called rooming accommodation, which is
rooming,
getting into the quasi-boarding house, small scale. I believe City Plan 2014, I believe they're limiting to around 5 non-resident family members.
Okay.
But I think a bit more work still needs to be done, and certainly on a state level, which the state is effectively mandating the new policy, which you'll see in Logan and Brisbane in their new draft planning schemes. There's a policy framework which is giving councils some opportunities, but on the other hand also kind of limiting their flexibility. Okay,
I guess the one other issue that comes out of this, quickly if we could, Aaron, is that with these expanding corridors and nodes, what right of notification, approval and I guess appeal will be involved?
In Queensland, we have benefited from code-accessible development. That got implemented back in '98 as planning schemes were renewed and implemented. It's something that our colleagues in New South Wales have vehemently tried to get over the line and just have had opposition. So in some respects, there are situations where these sorts of development will be code accessible in the major centres and major nominated areas.
What does that mean?
Plans. Effectively, a code accessible application is an application which is not publicly notified.
Yep.
If it meets the relevant codes, and that can include relaxations or performance solutions to the adopted codes, essentially the Act requires the council provide a permit and actually proceed with that development.
So it proceeds directly without any input from the community as to whether...
No, so from my perspective on one hand, and there's always a counter-argument, code assessment, in my view, provides certainty. The reason I say that is the policy is there up front, it's clear and transparent, there are clear mandated design codes, so that any member of the public or industry can go and do some preliminary investigations or speak to a town planner, and they can quite quickly identify what could occur.
Yeah.
Now, in the Lutwyche and Highgate Hill scenario, those applications were impact accessible. Now, impact accessible is also what a lot of your listeners may recall as the term town planning consent.
Yeah.
So they're a publicly notified application. Any member of the public making a submission then obtains third-party rights of appeal to the court. Okay. Now, in those two scenarios in particular, particularly the Lutwyche scenario, the Lutwyche development was almost code accessible, except they pushed the gross floor area around 100 square metres higher than what was actually permitted in that neighbourhood plan. So certainly the gentleman in that circumstance would have been notified. He would have had a right of appeal, but certainly could have ended up with a very similar development form and certainly the same impacts on his amenity and dwelling through that code accessible scenario. And unfortunately, with code assessment, whilst I say it provides certainty for the industry, it doesn't have those third-party rights of appeal and neighbours aren't directly notified of the presence of those sort of development applications.
All right, Aaron, great to talk to you, mate, and great to get some perspectives on all that. As this comes closer, we may talk again and just get into some more of the detail about what people might be able to do given those circumstances happen to them.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for your time.
See you, mate. Aaron Sweet, Director of Consult Planning at Springwood. Great to give us some time this morning.
It is. It also makes it really important, I think, that if they're going to be accessible like that, and residents aren't going to have to be able to have appeal rights, it's really going to be important that residents, when these plans are proposed, that residents get on the front foot and try and fight the development then, because if it goes through, as he said, there's no recourse.
But how do you know if it's going to happen?
Well, because and this is where it comes down. Like I'm hoping the council, obviously, if they're planning to change the plan for an area, that all of the residents in that area get notified. I'm not sure whether that actually happens.
But I'm talking about an individual building. How do you know that that's going to happen next time?
Well, that's the thing, and that's where the difficulty is. And, people need to be really vigilant now, I think, to hold council accountable so that if there is going to be changes, that they're notified so they get the opportunity to challenge those proposed plans.
Yeah, okay. Come back, take a call or two on this in a moment, and talk about some of the successes of last week in a sec. Cool. This is News Talk 4BC. It's 14 to 11.
They're back. The continuous call team. Ray, Bozo, Blocker, and
Ray, I've been eating chocolate since I was born.
the Big Mom.
The continuous call team back on air this afternoon from midday. Join Ray and the boys for all the fun. And then at 2 o'clock, the game. It's going to be a good one too, between the Melbourne Storm up against the Gold Coast Titans. Make sure you join us.
The continuous call team. My France with Manu. My Kitchen Rules Manu goes on an adventure through France. Tonight at 6:30 on 7.
Get out your good singlet because Macca's M Selections Angus the Great is back with a juicy Angus beef patty and sautéed mushrooms. It's a little bit fancy.
Available after 10:30am at participating restaurants for a limited time.
Adding your own personal touches to a funeral is what makes them special. And Alex Gow Funerals are experts in helping families create truly fitting farewells. From the complimentary canvas print of your favourite photo right through to the music selection and wonderful photo presentations, you can depend on Alex Gow to make everything memorable. We've been helping Queenslanders for generations, and with 4 branches across the southeast, we're close by whenever you need us.
Alex Gow Funerals, creating memories since 1840 and still family owned.
You've heard the Knowledge Bank IQ financial planning experts on the radio. Now meet them in person at the 4BC Knowledge Bank IQ Super and Retirement Information Evening, 6pm Tuesday, April 8 at the Broncos Leagues Club, Red Hill. It's free and a great way to get trusted expert advice from 4BC's financial planning gurus. The first 20 to register and attend will receive a free Kindle. Register now on 1300 300 499 or visit kbiq.com.au/register.
Nobody likes clutter, so do something about it. Organised Interiors can build space-saving storage solutions for new homes, renovations and apartments. All custom-made to help organise your home. See them for yourself at the Organised Interiors showroom on Abbotsford Road, Bowen Hills. Organised Interiors. Imagine the possibilities.
Hilary Weir, Australia's group tour expert, is offering you a choice of 2 fantastic cruises for September this year. Join Peter Dick as he heads to the Caribbean on a 14-day Royal Caribbean cruise on board the Allure of the Seas, visiting Florida, Haiti, Jamaica and Mexico from $5,600 per person. Or board Holland America's MS New Amsterdam with celebrity chef Alistair McLeod for 12 nights cruising to the beautiful Greek islands and Turkey, visiting Venice, Istanbul and Santorini from $5,998 per person. Both are 18-day fully escorted group tour packages, including return flights, taxes, extra hotels and stopovers. So where are you cruising in September this year? The Caribbean on the 5th of September? Or the Greek islands and Turkey on the 30th of September? For a DVD, itinerary and costing, call Hilary on 1800 373 267. That's 1800 373 267.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Bet those lady fingers aren't as fresh as me. I was carefully selected this morning, fresh from the Brisbane market.
Fresh Sensations. Top quality fruit and veg like no other. Fresh Sensations. Westfield, Carindale, Chermside and Capalaba Park Shopping Centre.
We're talking Brisbane. 4BC Weekend Mornings. 4BC Brisbane. With Chris Adams.
10 to 11 with Shane Bowering from Red Tape Busters. Hello, Jill.
Oh, good morning, Chris and Shane.
G'day, Jill. How are you?
Yeah, I'm a bit perturbed because there's a few points out of what you've said. In relation to granny flats, if people do build in the back gardens, it reduces the ability for rain to soak back through to the water table and it makes it all hard stand. So then it changes the stormwater situation, and so so that does affect flooding. And this has happened in the inner city areas where things have happened in existing residential areas, and then people have never been flooded and suddenly are because the conditions have changed in their immediate vicinity, so that the water runoff then does a different thing, and people have never been flooded since they built eons ago.
What happens with a block of flats?
Well, that is a problem, and that then is the point that I want to make about code accessible and impact accessible. That exactly changes the situation, and there should be no code accessible in existing areas because of that very fact and other matters where people can suddenly find that, and inner city areas, Lutwyche isn't quite in the city, but certainly West End and South Brisbane, East Brisbane, they preceded Lutwyche, but Lutwyche was pretty soon after.
Yeah.
So they need to have land and ground to take the damn water because it just doesn't work. And then when councils change, and there's a very pertinent matter now in the dockside area where the 3 existing dockside buildings and the hotel are on 15 acres, and I'm not going to convert it, 15 acres of former government land in the shipyard. And so they then were allowed to do those high-rise buildings with gardens and the town square and a lovely setting that matches. Now, people took, the council actually allowed then a person across the road in Cairns Street on the other side of the dock to amalgamate some land to 4,000 metres or 3,000 metres or something, and then proclaim a 20-odd storey building in a 10-storey height limited area. Not only 10-storey with City Plan 2000, but 10-storey reiterated in this recent City Plan.
Yeah.
And so, when they break their own laws by saying, oh, but it's based on dockside, if these councils change and don't know the reason why dockside got up with the 4 towers effectively, I mean, to start with, the hotel and the first tower were built to height.
I think there's going to be a lot of work left in this one, Jill. That's a very complicated situation that you're dealing with there, and I don't know any of the facts about it. So, as I say, I think generally there's going to a lot of work left. Hello, John.
Well, g'day, guys.
G'day, John. How are you?
Good. I've been dealing with this code accessible rubbish for about 3 years now. We had a property developer buy a house next door to us that is part of a demolition control area at Wilston, and he's been able to basically demolish a 120-year-old building to leave the facade, build 2 new buildings that occupy the entire land from boundary to boundary, and it breached all the codes on small lot development. So even the subdivision is supposed to be straight lines, but it's zigzagged, and the council allowed that. So basically, all you need to do is find a building certifier who's prepared to work with the builder, put a code accessible application in, regardless of whether it meets the code, and the council will just let it go through.
So did you get all the proper notifications, John?
We got none because originally it was code accessible.
Righto.
And we started to fight 3 years ago against it, and we even had the current mayor come out and say, bad luck, we need all this sort of
Yeah, I'm just worried, Shane, that in all this stuff, they're just like John. There are just going to be people that are going to get run over because they're not familiar with the way the system works.
Absolutely, and I can see that too. I probably can see the other benefit there, that developers have some certainty as to what they can build. So once the plan comes through, there's certainty that we can build this in this area. We don't really have to get approval now. So I can see that, but I can really see residents and the local community being significantly disadvantaged. That if you aren't on top of your game and don't realise that these are going to be that the proposed changes in a draft plan are going to they're being proposed, and that this is likely to happen, and you don't make a complaint, you don't vigorously try and challenge the council with that, you're stuck, because once it's approved, it's all over, Red Rover. And to me, it's wrong, and I think we need to go back and have a bit of a look at it.
Well, yeah, absolutely right. And that's about all we've got time for.
Oh, that's all right. And
we're going to talk about some of the successes of the week, but just a couple of terrific emails, but we'll keep that.
We'll get that next week, and we'll have a Manly win this afternoon, so that'll be great.
Good on you. Thanks for coming in, mate.
Good on you, mate. Thank you very much, as always.
Plenty more left in that issue, of course, and we will deal with it as it arises. It's coming up 4 to 11. News Talk.